We're gonna tear up this town, and when we are through, they're gonna have to burn it down as an homage to me and you.
Hey everybody, this is the story behind the song Tear Up This Town from my album I Guess I'm Not Alone. Tear Up This Town is a song about partying and carrying on and tipping go-go boys and drinking and running around the streets of West Hollywood. That is the main gist of the song. But there's more to it. There's personal stories that led me to write this song and what it reminds me of when I hear it. And this storyline kind of becomes the story of three of my very best pals that have done so much for me and that I just adore. So lyrically, it is about these epic brunches that we used to have on Sundays. They would start out innocently, a little mimosas, turn to bottomless mimosas, turn to all-night partying at Mickey's and tipping tons of go-go boys. And so in general, it's about that group of my friends and all of us hanging out there. But specifically, this is about my pal Robbie and I, and we're the ones tearing up the town, and we're the ones they're going to pay homage to. I spent so much time with Robbie. Like, we used to go to Jim Bar when it first opened, and no one really knew who we were. And Alfred never went down to the bar, so people just assumed Robbie and I were a couple, and they used to call me Mrs. Robbie. I won't give his last name, but if you know me, you know him. But so they used to always call us that, and we just hung out together. And so that was the inspiration. This song reminds me of us when we hung out so much and did all the craziness that we did. And this go-go boy thing, I mean, obviously that's what we did, but after we first met, we talked about this one go-go boy that we both kind of thought was so hot and funny and attractive, and he had one in San Francisco and I had one in LA, and it turned out to be the same damn go-go boy, so hey there, Greg, thinking about you. So the song is about me and Robbie, lyrically, and tearing up the town. So musically, it started with that backbeat, which is just the drum and the guitar, and it's kind of more of a rock song. But because I was writing these more epic lyrics, and when I got to the chorus and we're doing these shouts and all this other stuff, I'm like, this needs to be bigger and shinier. So I called up my pal Patrick Jacobs. So there's pal number 2 of the story. And Patrick I met when I first moved to Idaho. I had only been there like a week, and I met him, and we bonded over music. And for the next 2.5 years that I lived in Idaho, we spent every day together. Like, it's no exaggeration. We were always together. And again, people thought we were a couple because they only saw us together. They never saw us with anybody else. And we were a couple of something. We just weren't that kind of a couple. But around that time is when they started releasing home studio software. And so Patrick got asked to DJ, and we started working on music. And he would call me up at work and give me the most insane song titles and say, okay, now you write the lyrics to this insane well, you didn't call them insane, but you write the lyrics to this song title and then get a 12-pack of beer, and tonight we'll record these songs. And we did. So they were crazy, like Biped Misleads Ether and Dressy After Churl were some of the titles I was given. And I wrote those songs, and they actually did get recorded. Some of them, I think we changed the title, but I think we mostly kept the titles exactly as they were. And those ended up on... His moniker was Orange Television, and then I started, when I was doing my own kind of thing, was Swivik. And so from then, Patrick has been involved in every album I've ever released, even after I moved to Los Angeles. He would either write a song for me that ended up on the album, or he did, on every single album, he remixed 1 or 2 of those songs, and then they were released as singles or on the internet as singles. But so he's always involved in my music, even though he was never in LA, and we still always worked on music through the, sending it back and forth. So I asked him if he wanted to work on the song, and he did, and all the really cool electronics and everything that goes on that makes it more dancey than my normal stuff is all from Patrick. And if you know Patrick, then he passed away about probably 5 years ago already, but suddenly. But this was one of the last things that he had worked on musically, and so I always wanted to make sure that I included it because he has to be part of my music. So I don't know if I would have done any music or what my music would have been had we not been pals. And actually, I mean, it doesn't matter because my life would not be the same without him as a pal. So that is a big part of the song and why this song is important and why it definitely fits on this album of reflection and all that. So with the lyrics and the music, I had recorded kind of a rough vocal is what Patrick was working with. And so when I finally got the music that I wanted for the song, then I started re-recording all the vocals. And I was working with pal number 3 in this story, Devin Tate, who I was co-producing his record. And so whenever we got a break in studio time, I would record more vocals for this song. And then I had him record the background vocals, and it's just us on there, and I think I did a pretty good job of making it sound like there's more than just the two of us, but all the vocals on that song are just Devin and I. And actually, Devin and Patrick remind me a lot of each other, and they are, of course, both ginger and great musicians, but that's just the start of their similarities. Like, I've been blessed to have them both in my life, and Devin in LA has been one of my greatest music muses and someone I'm always working with and I want to continue working with, and so it all worked with all that. So the lyrics are about Robbie, Patrick helped with the music, and Devin's on the song singing with me. So then I had all the stuff together and it was time to mix it, and it was awful. There was so many vocal takes from all these different places, and it was just a mess. And a rule of thumb is musicians should not mix their own stuff because you need another set of ears and someone else to say, well, maybe this works, maybe this doesn't, or just have a whole new idea on it. But I've mixed my stuff forever, and I went to school and learned even more about mixing, and I'm cheap and didn't want to pay. But because it was in such shambles, then I did ask Devin about people that he had worked with that mixed stuff for him. And so I was all ready to pay for it, and then one day I just sat down and said, I'm going to work on it a little bit. And so I worked on it a couple hours, and then every day for a couple of weeks I would work just a couple hours until I got a little fatigued or couldn't stand it anymore. And it started shaping up, and I did it. I mixed that whole song by myself, and it is my crown achievement of mixing, because if you saw what it looked like prior, you never know that it could have amounted to the song that we have now, which I really, really love. So sometimes I have crowning achievements of my lyrics, I have crowning achievements of what I thought my voice sounded really good in a song. This is my crowning achievement of mixing. I'm very, very proud of the mixing I did on Tear Up This Town. So, then, in order to place the song on the album, I always figured it should go at the very end of the album. As you know, if you watch any of these videos, almost every song on this album started in the sessions for my album, Everybody Hates You. And then, when that album was done and finished, and it was all done, I knew I had all these other songs that were then going to become the album, I Guess I'm Not Alone. But I continued writing, so there are at least two songs that are brand new written for this album. One was Lonely Calls to You, and one is Tear Up This Town. Obviously, it's been years since they were done and considered, but or not done, but years in the making. But still, they were written specifically to be on this album. And because of the way Tear Up This Town ends, I always thought that's a great way to end it. And it's also, at the time when I wrote it and was working on the album originally, it was pretty new. It wasn't, all these other songs were about the past and reflecting, and this was the now and the future. So I thought it was great as the ending. And it still worked as the ending song because when I released the album in the middle of quarantine and pandemic, and we were reflecting on everything, then I'm reflecting on these times with these people, and maybe reflecting on what we used to do, that we were able to go party, and then maybe looking forward to when we're all able to get together and party and do all this fun stuff again. So I think it was great placement to put that song at the end. It gives a little bit of happiness and hope. I mean, some of the stuff on the album is a little somber, but it's still all reflections of my life, which hopefully everybody else relates to, so that I guess I'm not alone. So that is all the story behind the song Tear Up This Town. But in the spirit of the song, I think we need to do a So this one is for Robbie. The inspiration of the song, the hours and hours and days and weeks and years of our friendship and the fun we've had and will continue to have. This one's for you. And this one is for Devin Tate, who helped me so much with this album, was always a listening board, a sounding board, everything. I bothered him so much. He worked so hard on the songs that he worked on this album. He was there on this song, on Tear Up This Town, and he's put me on stage with him. He's worked on stage with me. He's had enough confidence in me to co-produce his album. He is just an inspiration to me, so this one's for you. This one is to the ball of fire that was my friend Patrick Jacobs. I dedicated this album to Patrick, if you look on the liner notes, and it's because of the music that we made all of these years that we worked together and hung out together and did everything together. Him and I would spend hours in record stores, and I was the only one he would go shopping with because everybody else, and I agree with him completely, everyone else just keeps bothering you when you're trying to shop. My whole life would not be what it is if it wasn't for Patrick. And so this one is to you. And finally, let's do one more. This one's for you, whoever you are watching this video. If you're my friend, if you're my fan, if you're just some rando who came across this video and wanted to see what it's about, thank you. Thank you for being here and for taking this journey with me through these songs from my album, I Guess I'm Not Alone. All these songs are so personal to me, and it took me forever to get them out to you, and I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed the story behind the songs. And I hope you buy the album. It's still available everywhere. Spotify, Amazon, Bandcamp, Bradley Jacobson. I Guess I'm Not Alone. Buy it. Cheers.
Drink shots, fire.